There's a silent killer wrecking marriages right now, and it's not cheating, it's silence itself. Most couples think the sex just faded on its own, but it turns out one habit, repeated for years, is the actual reason the bedroom went quiet, and it's probably happening in your house right now. Let's break down why this actually happens. A sexless marriage usually gets blamed on one thing: low attraction. A couple assume that if desire faded, something must be wrong with how they look, how they've aged, or how their partner feels about them physically. That's the story almost every couple tells themselves first. But it's almost never actually about that. It's about emotional safety and unresolved resentment. When trust breaks down between two people, the body responds by protecting itself. And one of the first things it shuts down is desire, family. Researchers who study desire in long-term couples keep landing on the same conclusion. Emotional connection predicts sexual desire more reliably than physical attraction does. Now, you might be thinking, my partner is still attractive to me, so that can't be the reason. But desire runs on more than how someone looks. It runs on whether you feel close to them, heard by them, and safe enough to be vulnerable with them. And when that safety is gone, the body knows it even before the mind is willing to admit it, family. There are several reasons that safety can disappear. The first is resentment that has never been spoken out loud. Small disappointments that build up over months and years. Feeling unsupported during hard seasons. Feeling unheard, dismissed, or just simply taken for granted. None of those moments seem like a big deal in isolation. But over time, they accumulate. They create a wall between two people who still share a bed, if you still do, because some people stop sharing beds. The second reason is a breakdown in communication. When couples stop having real conversations, they start having transitional ones. Who's picking up the kids? What's for dinner? Did you pay that bill? The relationship stops feeling like a partnership or a covenant agreement and starts feeling like a business arrangement. And you can't feel romantic desire towards your business partner, or you shouldn't be if they're not your husband or wife. And the third reason, this one is critical, is infidelity. A spouse who finds out their partner cheated often loses physical desire for them completely. Not because the partner suddenly became less attractive, but because the betrayal broke the very foundation that desire is built on. The foundation is safety and trust. Even years after the affair is over, even after the couple has decided to stay together, the betrayed partner's body can still respond to their spouse as a threat rather than a safe place. Some of that is emotional resentment that was never fully processed. Some of it is something more practical. Not knowing what their partner exposed them to while it was happening. Whether that's sexually transmitted infections, emotional chaos brought into the home, or the stability of the entire family being put at risk from outside forces. Those things don't disappear just because the affair ended. They live in the body and they live in the nervous system, family. The fourth reason intimacy fades is outside stress. Financial pressure, demanding jobs, parenting exhaustion, caring for aging parents. When a person is running on empty just to get through the day, Desire is one of the first things to go. The body prioritizes survival over connection. And finally, there are physical and medical reasons that should never be overlooked. Hormonal changes, medication side effects, chronic illness, depression, and anxiety can all directly impact a person's desire. That is why a medical checkup is always part of the conversation. But here's what's important to understand. In most cases, it's not one of these things alone. It is a combination of them layered on top of each other over years that finally brings the bedroom to silence. Once you understand the problem is connection and not chemistry, you stop blaming your body and start looking at the right thing. The one shift changes everything about how you approach fixing it. A sexless marriage doesn't sit there quietly. It moves through both partners and it changes who they are individually, not just who they are together. And because the damage builds slowly, most couples don't recognize how serious it has become until they are already in crises. The partner who wants more intimacy starts to internalize the rejection. They begin to ask themselves questions they should never have to ask. Am I still attractive? Does my husband still love me? Is something wrong with me? The internal questioning erodes self-worth over time, and it doesn't stay in the bedroom. It follows that person into their work, their friendships, and their relationship, even with God. The partner who is pulling away is not necessarily doing better. They are often carrying guilt and shame of their own. They feel pressure every time their spouse reaches for them. And because they don't know how to explain what they are feeling, they go quiet too. So now both partners are suffering. Both are lonely, and neither one is talking about it, family. One partner stops initiating because every attempt gets turned down. The other reads that silence as proof their spouse has stopped caring. And so the distance grows. Days turn into weeks, weeks turn into months, and eventually the gap feels too wide to cross. What makes this especially painful in a Christian marriage is the spiritual dimension of it. God designed physical intimacy as a covenant act between a husband and wife. It is not just physical, family. It is a reaffirmation of the vow. It is a form of worship within the marriage. When that is gone, couples don't just feel disconnected from each other. They often feel disconnected from the purpose God placed them together to fulfill. The sex was never the actual injury. The silence around it was. And the longer the silence continues, the more both people start to quietly grieve a marriage they are still living inside of. Most couples try to fix a sexless marriage by fixing the sex first. A vacation, a date night, something new for the bedroom. And they come home just as disconnected as they left because nothing underneath has been touched. The fix is not in the bedroom. The fix is in rebuilding the emotional safety that allows the bedroom to come back to life on its own. You cannot desire someone you don't trust. You cannot be vulnerable with someone you haven't forgiven. And you cannot rebuild a marriage on top of resentment that has never been named out loud. So the first step is the conversation most couples keep avoiding. Not a conversation about sex, a conversation about what has been left unsaid. What hurt? What was dismissed? What was never repaired? Naming the hurt they caused and hearing your partner own their part in it is what actually allows those feelings and emotions to be reignited again. One couple who hadn't been intimate in 2 years sat down and did exactly that. No blame, no accusations, just honesty. And within weeks, they reported feeling closer than they had in an entire decade. Not because anything physical had changed yet, but because someone finally said out loud what had been sitting between them for years. The second step is to get a checkup. Rule out anything physical or psychological that could be contributing to the decline. Hormones, medication, depression, anxiety, frigidity. There are medical issues, and they deserve medical attention. Don't assume it's all emotional until you have ruled out the physical. The third step is to get support. If the conversation keeps breaking down every time you try to have it, bring in a therapist who works specifically with couples on sex and intimacy issues in the marriage. That is not failure, family. That is stewardship of your covenant. Rebuild the safety, and the desire usually comes back on its own. Skip that step, and nothing else will stick. So now you know why it happens, what it does to a marriage, and what it actually takes to bring it back. If this video helped you understand what might be going on in your own marriage, I need you to do 3 things right now. Hit the like button, share this video with someone who needs to hear this today, and leave me a comment below. I want to hear from you. When did you first notice the emotional distance creeping into your relationship, and what did you do about it? And this one I really want you to think about. If you knew your silence was slowly costing your marriage, what would you finally say to your spouse tonight? And for those of you who have come through a sexless season and found your way back to each other, leave a word of encouragement in the comments for the couples who are still in the middle of it right now. Your testimony might be exactly what someone needs to keep going. The clips and resources related to this topic are linked in the description below. I'm Deborah, and this is Family Still Matters. Finding our way back to one another in our marriages is how we honor the covenant God called us into. Intimacy in marriage is not just physical, it's spiritual. It is purposeful, and it is worth fighting for. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. I always try to leave you with the final say in my videos being God's word, not mine. 1 Corinthians 7 verses 3 through 5 says, "Let the husband render unto the wife due benevolence, and likewise also the wife unto her husband. Defraud ye not one the other, except it be with consent for a time, that you may give yourselves to fasting and prayer, and come together again, that Satan tempt you not for your incontinency." In simple terms, God is saying this directly to married couples. Your body is not your own anymore. In marriage, you made a covenant to meet each other's needs, including this one. Don't withhold from each other. And if you need to step back for a season, make sure you both agree on it. Keep it brief and come back together. Because leaving that need unmet for too long opens a door that God never intended to be open. May God continue to richly bless you.